So, what guys be doing in school? I was playing outside.
Satota, where are you?
Shh, don't tell my dad.
Well, anyway. Welcome back to class. Where did he go? Welcome back to class. Thank you, Torts. Today I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to talk about Lebensborn movement. Lebensborn tends to be something that kids find interesting. And most importantly, it's a really important program that transfers well, I think, to like a PowerPoint format. So I think this would be easy to do online compared to other things. So the Nazi Youth Lebensborn program basically is like a very, very evil Boy Scouts, if you will. But it goes deeper than that. We've already talked about Hitler's hypocrisy in a major way for those of you in my 10th grade class. Those of you in 9th grade class, you may know that Hitler believed that pure Germans were the only people who should be allowed to live. And they were the superior race, especially blonde-haired, blue-eyed people. He didn't like gypsies, Jews, homosexuals, Slavs, which is like half of Europeans. Basically, if you're from Ukraine, Poland, Russia, some parts of Austria, Czechoslovakia, certainly, Northern Macedonian, that kind of thing. Either way, is the Lebensborn program. So you can see here, like, over in this region, like an orphanage or whatever with the Nazi symbol above, and all these kids on the other side. These kids are all taken in the Lebensborn program, which was the first thing would happen when you got off the trains in the Holocaust, was they separate the children and the parents. Kids under the age of 6, kids under the age of 6 would, I saw you try to touch that, Satota.
Oh!
All right. Kids under the age of 6 would be taken away from their parents. They had blonde or blue eyes. They'd be put secretly into this program. The program officially was an adoption, like, orphanage for all the children of Germany. But really what's happened is they take the kids away from their parents, these blonde or blue-eyed kids, and they tell them, no matter who you were or what you were, if you were Jewish, Adolf Hitler would tell you, or some orphanage lady in the Nazi party would tell you, Adolf Hitler loves you, your parents were killed by Jews. They tell it to the Jewish kid. But Adolf Hitler loves you, and one day you're going to get back at these Jews for what they've done to your family. So it's a form of brainwashing. If you were a gypsy, your parents are killed by gypsies, but one day Adolf Hitler, who loves you dearly and is going to provide for you and everything you need, will allow you to get back and avenge your family. Whatever you were, he'd tell you that killed your parents. And how would you know? This is inside the Lebensborn program. You can see over here the prison uniforms that the kids would wear, from like the boy in the striped pajamas and things like that. But these are the kids being brought out of the death camps like Auschwitz with their shaved heads, which is part of the program when you get in, and then brought to these orphanages. So this is some crazy evil Nazi lady who would just seem like a sweet caretaker in all likelihood to you, but telling you about how you need to eradicate the Jewish population, Gypsy population, the Slavic population, and basically everybody who exists under the sun. As long as you're blonde or blue-eyed, lies, Hitler doesn't seem to care. And out of ththese kids will become the super Nazis that are supposed to run the future. It is entirely possible, in the freakiest, weirdest thing of history, if Adolf Hitler had won World War II, the Nazi had won and taken over the world, it's very likely the Lebensborn would have been among the new High Fuhrer, the new High Leader. Certainly they'd have been the majority of the major new party leaders, without question. So they'd have run like the Senate amongst the governors. Not that there's really much of a Senate, but there's sort of a Nazi version of that. They've been charged largely of being generals. So they also run the military, these Lebensborn kids. So you can see like how massive some of these kids are taken too. They wanted big kids and aggressive kids. Here's a little kid playing on their playground outside the orphanage, just riding their tricycle around or whatever, in their Nazi headgear. And these guns are real guns. If the kid happened to pick up and shoot himself, so be it. Hitler, again, believes in most of Nietzsche's philosophy. Although Nietzsche's not anti-Semitic or anti-Jewish, but that survival of the fittest is a mentality. So if the kid dies in the training here, he dies in the training here. Now, certainly efforts are taken to keep the kids away from the guns, but not to discourage them entirely, as we'll see. I want you to try to imagine what it would be like if you could be convinced of this stuff. If your whole life you were told that Jews would kill your parents, how would you know the difference to them and like the aliens that are bad in an alien movie, or zombies, or orcs in a fantasy movie, or goblins, or whatever? This is a Nazi choir, and they'd sing songs, Wagner and other Nazi-approved songs. Some of them about how they're going to kill the Jews and everything like that, and how the Nazi party is great, and all that stuff, whatever. This is basically what course would look like if you went through this. This is a giant orphanage/school, so they're going to determine every single part of your day and every single part of your life. The boys would spend a lot of time studying up. Here they're reading different pamphlets for pro-Nazi stuff and studying that, as with the girls, and burning stuff, although they'd be segregated often between boys and girls for these programs, you can see. But you'd burn different things like that. Different types of modern art Hitler didn't like because he liked those still paintings we talked about, jazz records, as we discussed. But just books in general that questioned patriotism, questioned German superiority in any way. Anything written by a Jew, certainly communist books of all sorts and sizes were destroyed. Just a massive book burner. Hitler's really into that. There we go. Then you'd go on these huge marches. Some of these marches would take 8 to 12 hours. You just go these extreme lengths as far as it goes. Again, you can sort of see in the uniforms, they sort of look like evil Boy Scouts, which is essentially what they are. You'd take these long marches and you'd learn to survive as you're going. You'd learn to make campfires. You'd learn to scavenge for berries, or how to hunt, how to trap. The point here is to create perfect little soldiers, so they don't know it. Now these soldiers can march insane distances to fight the enemy and are just sort of accustomed to it. Physical fitness took up at least half the day of every single bit of education. To go back 1 second, to go back to their studies, whatever, the Nazi youth and the Lebensborn, they would all study, and this is in their thing, your chemistry class will be how to make bombs or poisonous gases. Your physics class, be it how far you can shoot a shell. Your math class, how many Jewish people can you murder in a given hour. Everything is geared in every single way towards how you can use different academic skills towards murder. Obviously, history class was just a series of different battle motifs and this nonsense about the Jewish conspiracy over time. At night, you go to these rallies. This is a, you can find this online. I'll try to post from the videos, but this thing moves. There are kids holding torches, and the swastika swirls in these giant party rallies. Anybody who, even in the Nazi movement, even not in the Lebensborn, who, hey, Toads, how you doing, bud? Anybody want to say hi to the people real quick? You can say hi to people real quick.
Your best buddy's a tour on YouTube. Yeah! Say your buddies! These are Nazis!
Aber sagt mein Kinder. Also du auf Scheiße! Schon in mein Kopf! Totish.
Nazi?
Yes, Nazis. Totish is not going to be a Nazi. This is good.
Hey!
Totish, shh. Not being a Nazi is a good thing. Nazis want to kill you. Nazis are going to kill, Ethiopians have a history of being Jewish, but they're going to kill off all Africans, all Asians. Again, anybody of not Nordic blood in the end, blonde hair, blue-eyed, except for 1 to 2 million Slavs they'll keep as slaves to be like janitors and stuff like that. But anyways, you have these big Nazi rallies. Any kid, even the Nazi youth program, living with his own parents and stuff like that, the regular schools, could stand up on any assignment, like my 5-page paper or whatever, and I say, hey, who's somebody who probably going to do the paper? Hey, Colton, where's your paper? And you stand up, my teacher, I was at the Nazi youth rally last night. And that earns you an instant A. No teacher is allowed legally to question a kid who was at the Nazi youth movement. Now, they can check up. They can't question the kid. They can check up after school, but whether the kid was there or whatever, and give him trouble that way, but you can't actually punish him or hold them accountable. If they were at Nazi youth movement, that mattered more than anything else. This goes to the girls and what they're up to in the Lebensborn program. Lebensborn means living born. Lebensraum, which is another concept we're going to talk, Lebensraum, R-A-U-M, but basically living room. Hitler says that they need living space. It's a big part of his campaign later on and things he's going after. Living space means that German people need places to expand to. Lebensborn are the kids who are going to take over these places. In other words, Hitler says, I need to take over Africa. I need to take over Russia. I need to kill everybody there because the German people need places to live. And then he's going to populate it with these kids. So that's like their goal. At any rate, the girls would spend time, again, physical fitness. You can see they train or whatever, but they're determined to look pretty as far as that goes. They do a little bit of the studies, but that's not emphasized. The girls are not going to work. It's a deeply sexist program. When you think of the girls, you should probably think basically of cattle, like mass farming cows or pigs or something like that. That's not a take on the girls. It just means to say that like their function is to one day have kids for Hitler. Here are the girls being measured for the proper heights to figure out when she's ready to have kids and whether or not the kids will be worthy. Here, SS members, which are the super heightened Nazis we'll talk about later, the most elites who do the Holocaust and stuff like that. This lady has had a kid with one of these guys. There's a ceremony for her honor. She'll receive this, which is like the Iron Cross, the medal Adolf Hitler won. Now this is the Women's Auxiliary, or the Ladies' Auxiliary Iron Cross, so it looks a little different with these blue lines here. It was a way of winning a deep honor, not society. It was the only thing Hitler really cared about from women, that they win one of these crosses. What it meant was that the woman had a child and then gave it up to the Lebensborn program, or was more likely a member of the Lebensborn program, a young kid, who then had sex in an arranged way with, not married, an arranged way with one of the other Lebensborn children of property age, or one of the other SS members. They go on these like overnight dates to these hotels that were very nice in order to make it seem like a good thing, whatever. But the point here is to raise up these kids. When you think of the girls, again, they're basically cattle to raise up these kids. Here you see a girl at a Nazi youth rally, and you see the girls here. Notice that they're fed. They're feeding these girls in the background are waiting for their chance to eat, and they're passing these giant troughs full of basically oatmeal. The girls are eating it by hand, and then they'll pass the trough back, like troughs, like cattle or pigs eat from a trough, and they pass it back. It's a very efficient way of feeding a lot of these kids in a very short amount of time. But no homework. That's, the bright side in a terrible way. The boys, in the meantime, will move on to sniper training in a loose way and basic gun work. They'll use live rounds, and it's a very serious thing. When you think of the boys as opposed to the girls, and Hitler's mainly concerned with the boys again. The girls, the point of them is to have more babies so we can populate the world with these new super Aryan supermen in his mind. These blonde-haired, blue-eyed German kids. But more importantly, to have as many boys for more soldiers for Hitler. And these will form the super elite Nazis. Either way, these kids begin their training in a basic way. Now, if you're good at it, you move on to basic marksman training. Here, these kids are doing target shooting. This guy here is in charge of the best sniper school in all of Nazi Germany. He was also the #1 sniper in World War I for the German side. And most people would argue from multiple different countries, even outside of Germany, that he was the best sniper in World War II. A couple make a play for a Russian guy, but Russia wasn't in the war very long. A couple make a play for an American guy, but again, he wasn't in the war very long. The best, most likely, is another English guy, but this guy's numbers way outweigh his. Either way, here they're working with camo and stuff like that. You can see it's just like this brown stuff, whatever. They're just using like a combination, not quite mud, but basically mud with some dyes and things like that that you can find in the wild. and then like these camo suits. This billowy thing here is not only rainproof, more importantly, when you actually when you use camo, one of the most important things is not get the silhouette of a human. So these things could billow out, and you just doesn't look like a human body. If you're not good at sniping, it's not a problem. You move on to machine gun training. And here we have a kid shooting off a 50 cal, and here they're shooting off an old World War I fire. But you can see like how many people came around. This is a major tank commander in charge of a tank crew of 5,000 Panzer tanks. But yet he's taking time off to watch this boy who's supposedly really, really good as marksmanship. And people from the surrounding town come as well. It was everything. And here this kid, I don't know how old he is, but he's this incredibly young child firing off this machine gun, and everyone's super proud of him. That's his whole life. Here, again, they train at an older age with their better machine guns as they move up. These kids are just about ready to see action in the war. If you're not good at machine guns and you're not good at sniper rifles, that's not a problem. You join the Panzerfaust unit, which is the RPG unit. The first RPG ever, rocket-propelled grenade, is a Panzerfaust, which means to destroy a tank. Essentially, Panzers being German tanks, whatever. So here you've got this kid with this weird Panzerfaust-looking thing. Here you actually see Adolf Hitler congratulating some of these kids. Each one of these kids has won the medal. How Panzerfaust crews worked is the kids would bury themselves underground. They'd dig a hole, they'd pull a tarp over them, lightly pour some dirt over it, and then they'd sit down there underground in these like these covered foxholes around a road, and they'd sit in a triangle formation, one here, one here, one here. The tank would roll down the road in the middle, and the kids would pop up on all sides, and they'd all charge the tank as quick as they could, trying to get off one of these things. Now, their chances of pulling off a shot were very low against the tank machine guns. The large barrels of the tanks are way too close to actually like destroying these kids. But machine guns will fire these kids down. But as most of you know through video games, tanks usually have 1 to 2 machine guns on them. That's why 3 kids coming from different angles. You can't whip the machine gun around quick enough to get all 3 kids, and one of them is going to pull off a shot and blow it up. Each one of these kids has destroyed an American or Russian tank in World War II. They get really desperate, and some of these kids see action earlier than Hitler wanted towards the end. Each one of them has won now the Iron Cross, which is their highest, their Medal of Honor for Germany. If you're still not good at that, you can join the last boy division or whatever, and you have to by default. You would again bury yourselves in these foxholes. Here the boy doesn't cover it. That's not necessary in this case. You look up for planes. You assemble these things. You can take them apart, and then this is a crew, and each one of them will take a different portion of this humongous flak cannon, which is a gun designed to blow up planes. Between all 4 of these basic combat things, Hitler has a super elite, incredibly in shape group of kids. They all have to do parachute training, which means they all jump out of parachutes on a regular basis, or jump out of planes with parachutes on a regular basis. Around 15, it's mandatory. You get pushed out of a plane if you haven't volunteered to do it earlier. But that's your school day, essentially. All this stuff. Either way, Hitler's got snipers now to sneak up and start taking out the enemy. If they charge into the wooded areas or into the city areas where the snipers are active, they've got the machine gunners to take down people and cover the retreat of the snipers who run off. And all these kids believe that they are on this epic quest, that everything can be fixed by destroying the Jews and the Gypsies. They believe sincerely that they're on some heroic journey. And it's the most important thing you can do in the world. Every problem in the world will be fixed by their efforts. So they have what most kids want. They have the video game life. They have this war, this challenge. It's physical in front of them. They know what side they're on. They know the good guys in their mind, the bad guys. It very much fits into the psychology of what young kids want and what most adults want, honestly. You have a cause, you have a purpose, it's right in front of you. Just go do it. Just be brave, and everything will work out. Either way, you charge in, the machine gun kids get you. If you pull a tank on them, the Panzerfaust kids will blow you up. If they try to bomb you out by air, the anti-air groups will take you out. This is a super cheap army. The goal of it is about 1 million to 1.5 million of these kids. The goal of it is to have an incredibly elite army ready to parachute into America. That is the first big mission of the Lebensborn children. The Nazi army and the SS will take out Russia and Europe. Italy will take out Africa. Italy is a big German ally in World War II. The other big German ally, the Japanese, will take out most of Asia, Australia, and different colonies out in the Pacific Ocean. The launch of these kids will start in America and Canada, and then move down and take Mexico and all the way through Latin America. If Hitler has enough time for these kids to come to age, if people don't get in the war quick enough and stop him, there is no way in almost any military analysis of what was going on that these kids don't just crush the American military. I mean, just absolutely crush it. We were woefully unready for the war. When we go over the stats of what America has, you'll be shocked at how little ready we are for this war. But either way, so this is the nightmare to come. This here, you see they're reattaching a kid's ear. It got caught in one of the anti-aircraft guns that they were loading the anti-aircraft gun. His ear, as he lined up, pushed his head against it to line up for the shot, actually got caught. And when they close the thing, it rips partially off his ear. There's like a little tiny tag of it left. And here, they're just field suturing it and sticking it back on. They just did it on the field, no anesthetic. They have basic med kits because that's their health class training. This is their biology class as well. This is from an old picture of Sam. Sam, if you happen to see this somehow, shout out to Groton. This kid just sort of kind of looked like this other kid who had taken out a Panzer, or taken out an American tank. And I should change that by now to look like one of you. I was thinking about going with Dimitri because of blonde hair, blue eyes. But anyways, here's the only bit of homework with this thing. You can post your comments directly underneath this thing. You don't need to email them to me. You can email if you prefer because it's harder to copy when it's an opinion. If you were a Lebensborn child, would you risk your death for Hitler? Why not? Would you figure out, would you see through it in the Descartes sense when we're talking at the beginning of the year about what's real and how would you know? Or would you figure it out? Would you buy into it or would you figure it out? You get it. And then second question, only 2 questions. How is this Lebensborn program like Sparta or Coney? For my 9th graders, this is a interesting activity, but mostly we're reviewing, most of my classes we talk about Joseph Coney, either in 10th grade or 9th grade over. And my 9th graders, you all talk about Sparta. How is this program similar in a review sense to what Sparta was doing? And that'll tie into the samurai in a little bit. You can also go with the samurai thing, but yeah. Some of you in 9th grade has also seen the Coney thing. So that's it. Let me know also, do you prefer this video where you just stare at the thing and I go through the PowerPoint? Or are you for me talking or whatever? So thank you. Bye.